Show. Listen, we have a great show lined up for you. I'm your host, Kim Jacobs, better known as the Balance Doctor. And all of our guests that come on, they're either people that have overcome some tremendous odds in their own lives as they balance this thing called life, or they're experts and they're here to share tips and strategies that will help you better balance and manage your life. Grab your virtual seats and let's get ready for some real relevant and relatable content on today's episode of The Kim Jacobs Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of The Kim Jacobs Show, where we are bringing balance to the world, and hopefully we're bringing it into your household. We are doing that today with Dr. Paul Miller. How are you today, Dr. Paul?
Good morning, everybody. I am doing well, and I am happy to be here.
Oh, we're so glad to have you here. Listen, everyone, you know how important it is to us that you are active participants. So feel free to share your comments, ask your questions along today's conversation. We're going to be talking today about the good me and the hood me. And a lot of times we have, I would say, stereotypes associated with that topic. And so I cannot wait to deep dive and to hear more about what Dr. Paul Miller has to say about this. So Dr. Paul Miller, I want to make sure I let you all know that he grew up facing the harsh realities of urban life in Rochester, New York, where the challenges of poverty and a lack of role models could have easily set him on a different path. But he was inspired by his own struggles and fueled by a desire to change the narrative of young men of color. He has really dedicated his life to transforming urban education and leadership. And he is the CEO of multiple organizations, including Charter Champions and Urbane Education, and lots of other things that you're going to learn about, including some books that he has authored that we are extremely excited about hearing more about, from the gutter to greatness, the 21-day challenge, and then, of course, now the Good Me and the Hood Me, our children's book. So welcome, Dr. Paul Miller, to the Kim Jacobs Show.
Thank you. Yay. I'm happy to be here. Yes.
Woo, and the crowd goes wild. Listen, I want people to get a chance to just hear more about you personally first, to take us back, if you will, and give us some insight as to your journey and growing up in the Rochester area, and letting us know more about how your story really began.
Right. No, thank you for asking. So I grew up in Rochester, grew up in a single parent family home. My mother was one who did the best she could, but she struggled. There was some issues with depression and some other, just challenges that she was facing. And she's been able to work through a lot of those challenges. And we have a great relationship at this point in time. But through being a kid, it was rather difficult. And due to depression's real, y'all. And so it is like running around with a bunch of weights on your back, and it slows you down. And so often she found herself depressed. And so she would lock herself in the room. And then when she locked herself in the room, I would be alone. I'd be raising myself.
Right.
And then on top of raising myself, my stepfather was around. My biological father wasn't around. He had issues with drugs as well, and just was absent. And so, so my stepfather, he was around, but not around. So he was around from time to time, very negative role model. There was issues with domestic violence. He was beating on my mom. There were times where he would abuse her, and being a little kid, there's nothing I can do about it. So I felt powerless. And, you would see this, or you'd witness the aftermath where she would come downstairs and be bleeding or crying or both, or times where she was missing a tooth, or there was times where, I remember these as a very, very young person.
Right.
And, you're going through this, but then because of the depression, and because when he wasn't around, she was depressed. And then when he was around, she would lock herself in the room because she felt like she needed to keep him there.
Right.
And so I'm raising myself, trying to figure it out. And as you're raising yourself, I grew up in an area where initially, we were we had a house. We lost the house due to all the issues that were going on. And as we lost the house, we moved to the projects. When I lived in the projects, I absolutely love it. Like the hood raised me. The hood made me. Like I love the hood. But I also know that there's good, bad, and ugly there.
Right.
And so like we moved next to the house where they were selling dope out of. And so my stepfather being on drugs, that wasn't a good idea.
Right.
And us moving next to them, and we often find our stuff missing. We often, at times we were so poor that we were taking bottles back for toilet paper, or we were, you're waiting for the food stamps to re-up so you would have enough food, or you're trying to ration it so you don't, run out of food, or whatever you're doing. And it just, that creates trauma. It creates issues, and it creates hurt, pain, feelings that as a Black male, we often aren't allowed or feel safe to talk about. And so that kind of led me through my adolescence of walking around with this heavy book bag that also had weights in it.
Right.
And I knew I didn't want to live like that. And I knew, even though I had experienced a lot of trauma, a lot of pain, and I had experienced a lot of loneliness.
Right.
And I felt like, unloved, uncared about, unwanted at times. And there were so many things missing that I felt like I wasn't getting. But I knew I wanted different. And so the difference for me was like, I just didn't want to be poor no more. I didn't want to be broke. I didn't. And so I had to figure out, did I hustle and do what some other folks do to get by and live the life in the streets? Or do I go the route of trying to follow more of what I believe God's plan was for me, and trying to find out what my superpower is, and then give this power to myself, but also hopefully bless some others with my gifts and share it in a way that would help and survive. And a lot of that's what's led me to want to write books and write some of the things that I do to be able to help change lives and do some of the things that I'm able to do now. And it's just been a gift because I've been really good at education. Has been my knack. And,
right.
Like as I didn't really go into the professional side of things, but on the professional side, I've been in education for over 25 years, and I've been a teacher. I've been an administrator. I ran successful schools. I was a CEO and principal, and we had 97% Black and brown young men and 90% poverty, but we ended up having a 95% graduation rate, 100% acceptance to college, millions of scholarship money. I built systems that work. I'm opening schools now. I'm writing books. I'm supporting other people, other leaders. I'm supporting schools. That's kind of professionally, but I know I couldn't do any of that and without having to listen to the right voice, the good voice over the hood voice, right?
Right.
And so, and the hood voice really just representing the voice that's within me that at times speaks really loud and speaks really loud and speaks through that hurt and pain and trauma, and speaks through what is the antithesis of what God would want me to be doing.
Right. Well, that, you talked a lot about some things that growing up, I can resonate, because I know I grew up in the projects, or in the hood, as people would say as well. And I do believe that all of us have that crossroad that we come to and make a determination of what way our life is going to really go. And I personally think it's a choice that we make. And so my question to you would be, do you feel that good you versus that hood you, which one was the drawing or determining factor as you were growing up? Which one really ultimately shaped who you became? Or when was that turning point? I guess I should ask, because there had to be a turning point for you.
The shaped who I became, both.
Both. That's what I thought.
And it's always going to be part of me, and it's always there. But it's the choices, it's the habits, it's the rituals and routines that I decide to listen to. And see, what happens is, so think about it. And as I know you'll share some pics from the First Kids book in a little while. But think about it as there's old movies, or you know what, there was this old movie, it's old school, makes me think of it, the Oh God, You Devil, where I think, and I'm dating myself for the younger people, and then I know what the heck I'm talking about, right? But there was this movie where this old guy, he came back as God, and he was like a voice to people. But then there's always the good and the bad voice sitting on your shoulder, like the good is the angel, the bad voice is the devil sitting on your shoulder. And I think about it in terms of when, and we all have experienced this, where your conscience or God is telling you to do something, and you're supposed to do something right. So let's think about a man who might go out and cheat on his spouse, right? Before the first time, before he makes that decision, if he's never done it before, right? And I think as people make the wrong decision, the bad voice talks a little louder, right? Or the hood voice in this term talks a little louder. But see that the first time he goes out, before he does it, he thinks about it. He knows, everybody knows right from wrong. And there was some type of voice in him that said, nah, don't do that. You know, that's not what you're supposed to be doing, right? And he chose to turn that voice down and listen to the other voice. And then it gets easier, because as you listen to it, it gets louder. So whichever voice you listen to gets louder. And there's been times where I've listened to both, or I've listened to one over the other. And there's been points and times in my life where one has grown more than the other. And I've had to work to turn the negative down to get to the positive again, and then keep the positive going is constant work, because that negative one is there's always that little guy that's there that's still trying to talk to you, because of a lot of your hurt and pain and trauma. So
and it doesn't even matter what aspect of life it is either, Dr. Paul, because even I know I'm a pastor now, and it still happens at this phase of my life. So no matter what phase of life, because that hood me version of me says, Kim, you know goodness well this person doing this, and this is no gray area. It's black and white. This is what they're trying to have happen.
Yeah. Absolutely. And there's anytime like something that as part of or could have been part of who you are, or something you experienced or seen or have done, or you might have seen, and not you in particular, but you might have seen people take things when you were young, right? And now it's like, and again, I'm not putting this on you, but now as a pastor, there could be that little voice that said, nobody will see. I could take that. Or I could put a little in my pocket and nobody will see.
Right.
And that old voice could still be there. But the fight is to say, like, that's what I saw. That's what I learned. That's how, and that voice still pops up, because, it's in there, even though I've worked on trying to heal that and turn the other voice up. And it's the hard work, and it's the choice to say, no, I you know what? That's not the person that I am. That's not who I am being. And that's not what I want to do or embark on. And I'm not going to allow that to speak louder again, because that's not where I'm at in life.
That's good. And I want to ask you all in the studio audience too, what are some things that you've had to fight against? Some things that is that voice pulling you in the wrong direction, but knowing what the right thing is to do, and making that conscious choice. So what are some things that you've personally had to overcome by making a conscious decision to do so? And I know with you, with the dual identities that you talk about, it still shows up sometimes even in the workforce, and even as an educator, a leader, a mentor. You're saying it's constantly there.
It's always there. My if I had a kryptonite, we all have a kryptonite, right? We all have something that we struggle with. And so when I think of those things, some people, and a lot of it is symptomatic due to the trauma that we faced, and it's our outlet, or it's how we cope with it, right? And so, like, there's a lot of people, especially my brothers, who in the hood, that will say, yo, I need to go smoke to clear my head, or I need to go drink. I'm about to go drink right now, and it's going to make me feel better, right? And it's really masking the problem or situation. And I talk about that in From the Gut of the Greatness as well, is that, like I had one of my relatives, one of my cousins, right? And he would, and I'll talk about me too. So I'm not just going to make it about other people.
Right, right, of course.
But you know, one of my cousins, he started smoking early, and it was like he always went to that to cover up whatever it was. And he would stay high. He would stay high, and it would cloud his thinking and his judgment. I had another friend who was very, very, like, you know, he was a good looking dude, like, and I say that, you know, respectfully, but a good looking dude, but he was very self-conscious, and he didn't know how to speak to the young ladies at a young age. And so what he started doing was he turned to some drinks or some alcohol, and he had his drink of choice, the cheap vodka. And anybody who knows me or knows who this person is, I'm sure they're laughing because they know it's true. But he would ride around with Rickaloff in his car, and so he would take shots. And I think he still does, to be honest with you, which I think it has caused him a lot of issues throughout his life. But you know, ride around with this Rickaloff, the cheapest vodka you could find. He would take the shots, and then he would get some courage, and then he would be like the coolest, capable person version of himself.
Right.
And he had no issues with the ladies until he drank too much, and then he became obnoxious and became like to where the ugly sides of him came out. Right. And then because he was drinking too much, that became a habit, right? And it was wrong. So mine was, the way I masked mine was through women. And so because I often didn't feel the love that I needed or wanted, it would be because of the things that I grew up with, that I would look to women as a new excitement or new high of the sexual experience or whatever it is with a woman. And that would be my almost drug. And honestly, even though I have that under control and I work on it and I'm helping, that doesn't mean that fire doesn't pop up, or those thoughts doesn't happen. And like you said, in the workplace, shoot, I might see a new fine staff member or somebody else that I would think was very attractive, and that flame pops up and says, "Hey, you know," and
the old self says,
yeah. And it's about consistently trying to just work on it and acknowledge it, and then work on healing it, and being open and honest about it.
Well, how do people, because when you're saying that, it sounds like you've mastered this thing.
And I haven't mastered it.
Not mastered it, but
I don't want to say that, because it's still a challenge that I work with, but I don't allow it to beat me. You know what I mean?
You're probably like I am. I don't ever feel like I've ever arrived. I actually feel like I'm always evolving and
always working on it, trying to be better. Yes, ma'am.
So as you're working on your own issues that you've had to gain control of, my question is, how do you advise people to really see the issue and be able to take some necessary steps? Because not everybody's able to self-teach themselves like you're doing. Other people may need counseling. What advice would you give people?
So I'm first going to tell people, go read From the Gutter to Greatness and do the 21-day challenge. Okay. Because the 21-day challenge is going to take the words into action, where you're going to put it into yourself. So, you know, there's a tool there for you to go, and you can get it everywhere, or you can go to drpmiller.com. So shameless plug, right?
Oh no, it's a great plug. We have this whole hour.
but it's really about so that. And so for me, one of the things that I did was actually writing this helped me to say I needed to work on it. Mm-hmm. And so, but I've developed a little bit of a formula from that. And there's an acronym for the gutter, right? And the gutter is not about like where you're at. It's about your mindset, on where your mindset is at. And so your gutter is about being, if your gutter's clogged, then the debris is going to back up. Your gutter is going to damage your house. So how do you remove that? And the way you remove that is just by understanding what this means, and then working through it. Is the G is to grieve the past. So it's okay, accept the past. We have to
get some studio audience participation here. So G, grieve the past. Y'all type it. Let's type it and participate.
So grieve the past. And that G is all about trying to be okay with it. You know, you don't have to be in prison with it. You can be sad. You gotta, and then the second part is, after you're sad, is understanding the wound. So the U is understanding the wound. So start to understand it, start to question it, start to dive deep into it.
That's good.
And see, as you understand it, if you know better, you do better, right? If you knew better, you do better.
That's right.
And then the T is you are going to need to tell the truth about it. So you know what? If you are hiding it, and you know what? And everybody's truth is different. And this doesn't mean that you have to go and profess all of your sins to everybody else.
Right.
But what it means is that you have to at least be honest with yourself about it.
That's good.
You have to be honest with yourself and God, I would say. You have to, because God already knows and he already sees it. Right. But when you're honest with yourself with it and acknowledging that God is watching you, you know, you have more accountability. That's right. And then you have to turn your pain into your purpose. So how do you make, instead of making excuses, make them the reasons why you do what you do? That's good. And so turning that pain into your purpose. And as you turn your pain into your purpose, you stop making excuses and you start to have an attitude of gratitude and you start to live what you're saying and you believe it. Right. And then E is about equipping yourself. Equip yourself with the tools that you need. So if you equip yourself with these tools, that is looking like, okay, read From the Gutter to Greatness, do the workbook, go to therapy, you know, journal for yourself, listen to self-help, pray, meditate, exercise, whatever that help looks like, equip yourself with those tools. Right. To make sure that you don't go back to that flame and that hood me voice that we're going to be talking about, right? That's and right. The last one is the R, and that's rise, right? And rise, my kings and queens, is you can't lay in it. If you can't lay in it or stay in it. So if you went through these steps, you got to rise up. You've already equipped yourself. You got to claim it. Like God will tell you, like, or if you've asked for it, then you got to stop just asking for it. You got to accept it that it's already been done. And then you got to move forward in it. And so this is about moving forward in it and becoming the person that you need to be. But it's practicing this over and over again, even in the face of adversity. That's good.
That's good. So I saw all of you all typing, and I'm going to be popping your comments up. So you have those for later for your notes as well. I saw someone made this comment, and I really wanted you to address it too. Frankie McCrae said, I used women for soothing also.
Dear Frankie, and myself as well. And so it was like, I understand, you know, what that means. Right. And so I often felt unloved and uncared about growing up. And so I was looking for that in the wrong places. And then at an early age, I had my first sexual experiences, and I mistook that for the feeling of love. And I mistook that the feeling. And so then it becomes a high that you want to repeat that feeling over and over and over again, regardless of who you hurt. And so mine is worse because I'm not just hurting myself, I'm hurting somebody else. You know, somebody who's drinking, you know, they hurt other people inadvertently, but they're initially hurting themselves. Right. And I'm hurting myself and somebody else. So it's really me realizing that and trying to work towards doing something different and changing that. And that's why I wrote this kids book, because I want kids to start working on themselves and understanding those voices earlier. Right. And understanding that that if I had healing and help and support, this would have worked. You know, I could have moved from my gutter to greatness sooner. And if I knew these things as a kid and I had support, and actually, you know what, there was this book that I read when I was young that stayed with me, and it's called The Good Me and the Great Me. And that book stayed with me because now this book is modeled after that. It's just a more of a hood version, right? Right. So, but it was all about hearing those voices and making good choices. And so it's something that I always thought about as I was growing up, even when I was doing the wrong things.
Right. So even when we're doing the wrong things, we know what's right, but we're just making the conscious decision to do the wrong thing.
Yes.
People don't always say that. People say, "Oh, I didn't know. I really made a mistake." And
they they knew internally though.
Right.
Kim, they knew internally, and they knew internally, and that voice spoke to them, but they turned it down, and so it wasn't loud. It was like if you had somebody in your ear talking to you really low, and but I hear your voice louder, and
Right.
I'm choosing to listen to you instead of the little voice in my ear.
That's good. And Angela said, we must make good choices that serve us in positive ways. So making conscious choices that serve us in positive ways. Dr. Lotus Rashay is on, and you know that she definitely supports you and all that you do. And one of the
Dr. Lotus, yes,
one of the people that behind the scenes helping you take flight. I had to learn to put me first and not be a people pleaser unapologetically. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, and a lot of that comes from something that was happened, or something that was missing, or something that she wanted or needed from people, and a lack of something that she needed, or for herself, or confidence, or whatever it was that I know that she's been working on, has worked on, to continue to develop, to push herself in the successful businesswoman that she is today. And so, and that's what it all is. We got to see, she started to understand the wound and understand that it is. And it's my guy, G. Hayes. What's up, Gary?
Yeah, Gary says temper is an issue for him. So a lot of people, it's not just you, Gary, a lot of people have a hard time maintaining how they're going to deal with their temper and keeping it under control. Any thoughts on that, Dr. Paul?
Yeah, Gary. So I know Gary, Kim, well, and Gary's funny because when he gets red, his cheeks get all red and everything like that. So I know he's cussing me out now because I'm saying that, but that's my guy, right? So, but yeah, and that anger comes from also probably from the hurt and pain, and I know the brother's story of all the crazy things that he's also been through. And that he's worked to overcome and to adjust and to deal with, and again, it's kind of just, it's going through these steps with yourself and making that choice to continue delving in and working towards, like, I'm choosing me, and I'm choosing to be the great me. I'm choosing to be the good me over the hood me and over this voice or this vision, because like God has a plan for all of us. And I look at it as like there's this whiteboard, and so like I guess I'm going for a second, right? There's this whiteboard when we're all born. I believe we're born, and this whiteboard has two sides to it. And so on the one whiteboard, on the one side, imagine a whiteboard that's completely filled out, has all your whole destiny, everything in it. Yeah, God knows your born date, your end date, and everything you're going to do, good, bad, and ugly, and the choices that He has planned for you and that you're going to make. And then the other side is clean and clear, your baby. We have it's clean, it's clear. And then as you're socialized, and as your life starts to adjust, and your parents raise you, and whatever you go through, and all these pieces, you start to make decisions, and your whiteboard starts to populate. And it starts to populate, you have to figure out, and you're faced with where the rubber meets the road of the choices. Right. Are you going to go? Because one thing God has given us is free will and choice.
That's right.
And like, so for me, an example that I have is where, I remember one time where I was riding with some drugs, and I was going to make a sale, and I was always told that I was going to be really, really good or really, really bad. And like, this was professed over my life. Right. And what I mean by that is I was either going to do great things, help people, be a leader amongst men, and be able to do good things, or I was going to be really good at being bad. And I was going to be either a criminal or whatever else I was going to be. And so, and I believe God knew that I had to try certain things, or that I was going to do certain things, right. But that wasn't the path that He wanted me on. And so I remember riding, and I was riding, and there was a significant amount of narcotics, and I got a flat tire, and poof, the tire blew out. And as it blew out, I got out the car. I was nervous and scared, but I wasn't nervous and scared because I thought I was going to get robbed or anything like that.
Right.
But I felt like I felt, and I heard God tell me, like, this is a warning. and there's a warning before destruction, right? And so like, this is your warning. And next time it's not going to be a flat tire. It's going to be either, jail or something worse. And so it's going to be something, a consequence that you don't want. And so you need to listen. This is not what I want from you. And I need you to listen to this voice, and I need you to hear me, and I need you to do things differently. And so I realized that I had to walk away and do things differently that day and live in my purpose of what God really wanted me to be doing. And it wasn't that. And so that's what I started to, and I always heard that voice. And that was something my mother always put into me was, so the values in God and praying. And so it never left me, even though I turned it down. Even though I turned it down, I didn't always listen, and I made some negative choices, and I've heard some people, and I've done some things that isn't great, and I'm not perfect to this day, obviously, but it's turning it and listening to that voice and turning it up and then following the path and then being able to stay on that path and using that path to guide me and trying to have what I want meet what was on the other side of the whiteboard of what God wants for me.
Right. That's a good visual, a clean slate, and then one that's already filled out with all of the things that God knows you're already going to do, but knowing that we have a free will and a free choice, and you made the right choice, the one that ultimately took you from the gutter to greatness. And so for those of you that are tuning in, we're talking with Dr. Paul Miller, who is the author of From the Gutter to Greatness, Turning Your Setbacks into Your Set-Ups. And I love this image, the gutter to greatness. And that was something that you made a conscious decision, and not only for your own adult life, but you've also made the decision to help inspire young people too, so that they can make better choices. And hence you now have the new book that's out, The Good Me and the Hood Me. And if you all need to know, there is a QR code right there for you to pre-order your copy now, The Good Me and the Hood Me. You can definitely scan that QR code, but we're going to be talking more with Dr. Paul Miller right after we just hear a little bit about this book. We'll be right back.
The Good Me and the Hood Me is a bold and beautiful journey through the mind and heart of a young boy navigating two worlds within himself. In this groundbreaking children's book, Dr. Paul Miller opens the door to an internal dialogue that so many young boys face, but few know how to express. Through poetic narration, raw honesty, and vivid internal conflict, the book explores the boy's daily tug-of-war between the good me, the version striving for purpose, peace, and promise, and the hood me, the version born from survival, pressure, and pain. This is more than a children's book. It's a movement, a conversation starter, and a healing tool. Coming this September 15th. Discover the story behind the balance we all face, the good and the hood within. Pre-order your copy today and secure yours before release day. Scan the QR code or visit thegoodmeandthehoodme.com.
So everybody, make sure that you're putting in the comment section that you have already pre-ordered your copy or you are pre-ordering it today, and let us know so we can put your comments up saying that you're supporting this project. One that everyone, every school, every organization, I believe everybody around the world should have a copy of this, because it teaches us how to understand the dynamics of the good me and the hood me. What made you come up with that particular title? Tell us that.
Well, it was, again, I was following the good and the great me. And even though I liked that it was like good and better, I wanted to show the contrast. And I wanted to show the contrast and the struggle in the title. And so, what's interesting is that I sent a video similar to this to some people in my contact list. And I sent it to maybe 100, 150 people. And maybe 3 out of the 100 said to me, well, why are, and I don't even know if they watched the video or not, but they looked at the title and they were like, well, why are you talking about the hood negatively? Because the hood isn't all bad.
But why are you shaking your head while you're doing it? They must have had an attitude. They were like, and why are you like that?
Because it was annoying. And you know, and I'm just me. So it was annoying from the perspective of like, that's not what it's about. Like, the hood raised me, the hood made me. Like, I wouldn't be who I am without what I've learned, and without the people that I've without my childhood friends, without the people that I grew up with, like love my brothers and my sisters. But at the end of the day, there's also a lot of negative influences in the hood. We have a choice whether we do those or follow those or listen to those.
Right.
And so that voice speaks loudly in a lot of us, and a lot of our young kids, specifically talk to my young Black boys and my young brown boys, are presented with so many of the negative aspects on a daily basis, from the things they listen to the things they watch, to the things that they participate in around them.
That's right.
That creates this voice that can fuel a fire. And then on the inside of them, though, what I'm going to also argue is that all of them are innately good. No one is born bad.
That's
like
right.
They're innately good. And it is a choice on which voice to listen to. And so, you know, and so those people making that judgment, or there's people who are automatically going to, you know, think that this is about negatively. If you know me at all, that's not going to be the case. And I send it to people that I know. Like, for you to even think that is offensive to me, right? And I don't get offended easy. But like, for you to even think that is offensive, because at the end of the day, it's not about that. It's about, how do we make sure that our kids pick the right version of themselves, and not the version that could take them down the wrong path, because they're one decision away from it. And so this book is about describing what those decisions look like through story, and telling the story of what it looked like for me and what needed to happen in order to choose the right voice. And then even at the end of the book, there's 21 questions, like 21 days to break a habit, right? There's 21 questions that kids could, and kids and teachers can, or parents can use to connect with their kids, to help bring some of this out of them. And really, this could be used in schools, in churches, in after school programs, at home. And it's very relatable. And I would say it's probably best suited for 3rd, 4th through 8th grade. And
that was my next question. What age group?
Yeah, so 3rd and 4th through about 8th grade. And it's still even appropriate for middle school kids, because, you know, the content is mature enough, but not so mature that a 3rd or a 4th grader couldn't read it. And the way it's written in a very, like the video says, a poetic and rhyming tone that anybody would be able to take advantage and relate to.
That's great. And then, so with the internal conflict that I know we're gearing it towards children in this regard, but I believe every person deals with internal conflict. But since we're talking about the good me and the hood me and the children's version, what do you think that your book is going to do to allow children that do get a hold to this, as my grandma would say, to be able to identify those internal struggles that they're dealing with?
You know what? I think it's going to be an awareness, and I'm hoping what it does is, and in my heart, what I hope is it does similarly what the good and the great me did for me, right? Mm-hmm. And so, even though I went through life and I still made good and bad decisions, it was a book that I never forgot. It was a book that you know, and I can't tell you that I remember a lot of books from my childhood, and of course you remember some of the typical ones, but I wasn't ever one who was like, oh, I can't wait to read this book, right?
Right.
But
right.
I distinctively remember that book, and remember that it was all about me and all about my decisions and choices, and that I had a choice to be one or the other, and I had to. And if you do good things, Usually the way you think is how you act. The way you act is what you attract, right? And
Right.
so if I'm thinking and I'm doing good things, I'm going to attract good things.
Mhm.
If I'm thinking bad things and doing bad things, I'm probably going to attract bad things. And so now this is putting me in a mindset as a kid to understand that and also be aware where I think it made me listen to that conscious and listen to that good or that God voice more because it was implanted in me in this way because I was aware of it.
Yes. And so really as I hear you speak, which is so important for you to be on so many shows, maybe CNN and other places around the world too.
Hey, they should, and they
Yeah,
need to. And I'm ready.
So.
Yes,
Because
I'm ready. I love it.
what you're saying is actually going to change the narrative of all types of boys of color, any young man of color, and just men overall, young men, period,
Yeah.
no matter what their color is. But
All
because we're
kids, yeah.
talking about urban young men, I believe that you say representation matters. That's something
Yes.
that you are heavy on, and you specifically when it comes to children's literature and learning and education. So how do you think that this is really going to change the narrative of our young men, young boys of color?
I think it gives them something to connect to for somebody who looks like them, who's been through some things like they will be able to identify with this book. And my hope is that it makes them think twice, before and gives them a reason to make that voice louder in themselves.
Yes.
And because each time it speaks louder and it prevents them from doing something they shouldn't do, this book might keep them from doing something that they shouldn't do. This
really
book may keep a young child out of jail. So for example, like that time when I was riding and I gave the example of the time that I was getting ready to go sell narcotics, but I heard a voice and I heard this voice in me that spoke loud enough and I chose to listen to it. But I had to learn about that voice first, and it came from that book that I read. So that might have been a changing factor of my narrative or my story. And so I want this to change their story and their narrative. And there's no reason why it can't for all kids, but specifically my young boys of color.
That I think you are so spot on with this. And even I know when as a mother of 5 children, I used to do this thing when they were growing up called table topics.
Mhm.
And what they were I still have them actually, but they're cards. And we would pull out a card and it would be a conversation starter, Dr. Paul. So it would say something like, if you were president of the United States for one day, what would you do? Or if you could create anything in the world, what would it be? And I learned so much about my children and how they even think. One talked about creating an emotion code, like a remote control for an emotion code detector. I was like, who thinks like that? I have some brilliant children. When I think of this book, the reason I'm saying that is because when I think of this book, it reminds me of how teachers and educators and parents and leaders in ministry can use your book as a conversation starter.
Absolutely. And the questions are back there to help them with the conversation starter. So they don't even have to do it on their own.
Period.
There's 21 questions there that are all relevant to what they would have ascertained from the book and be able to move forward with it. And it was done purposefully. It was very intentional because I don't want people to just read it and put it down. I want people to read it and do something with it. And I think there's even some spaces to write in there a little, not a lot of space, but enough spaces to get some thoughts going for kids to start thinking and move. And a lot can be done with this to help change the narrative for kids and their mindset. And now it's getting people open to this concept and open to utilizing this in their schools, utilizing it in their homes and their churches and everywhere else. Yeah. And, people pre-ordering Jordans for their kids, pre-order something that's going to help change their lives.
Yes.
Pre-order something that's going to help you to help them and mold them into the person that God really wants them to be.
Yeah, please take a moment and scan that QR code or even go to the GoodMe and thehoodme.com. But make sure you go ahead and pre-order your book. And even again, pre-order it in bulk quantities so that you can give it to your children's ministry, or you can give it to your students in the after school program. It's going to give people a chance to make some better choices in their lives, all because they have a resource. This is almost like a resource guide, in my opinion, to help young people see the better choice that they could make to have a better outcome in their lives. So I'm really excited about the Good Me and the Hood Me. And I hope that you all are putting it in the comment section that you plan on fully supporting this project. Let's see. Talk about it, Chris said. Talk about it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we're trying to change some lives here. And really, this is about how do we save lives? We're at a time in our country and all over the world that we're in so much turmoil. And I believe the enemy is targeting our youth. You look at all the things that are happening, and we need to help our youth start to look at and see things differently and changing their mindsets as much as we need to change ours as well. And so that's really what I'm out here talking about, and trying to make sure that people are doing and living their creed and trying to help create these things. Really, so we can have better communities and defend against all the evil that's out here, because there's a lot going on out here, and it's a lot, they say it's the last days and times, and not to be hokey for people, but at the end of the day, these last days and times, what is our responsibility to do something different? And it starts with our kids.
I agree. And this is just one of the ways that you're salting the earth. And I'm grateful that you're using the gifts and the talents that God truly is trusting you with to be able to make a difference in not only you and your family lives, but in the lives of so many other people around the world. So Francisca says, powerful words, powerful words. Chris is doing the strong emojis, and people are saying, talk about it. Dr. Lotus says that I love this great discussion. Thank you, Kim, the Balanced Doctor, for this topic. It's my honor. Actually, this whole week we've been talking about how people are transitioning from one thing to another. I had a guest on my show that just talked about how he transitioned from the Nation of Islam to Christianity. Very powerful discussion. So if you missed that, check it out on our YouTube channel. And we're talking today with Dr. Paul Miller about how to transition from the hood me to the good me. That's what we're talking about here today. So thank you so much, Dr. Lotus. Catherine De Leon says the book is for everyone. It's a great tool to help parents with raising their children. That's great. Angela said, great video that you shared. Awesome. Congratulations. I don't want to miss any of your comments, but there's so many of them coming in. I'm so grateful that you all are participating. We have shared the broadcast on your page, and you can too. Sometimes people make an assessment before really knowing what the book is all about, just based on the title.
Right. And the like one of the brothers that come to mind, he's very like Afrocentric. He would be, he would be a Dr. Umar-esque, and my brother, and I've known this dude for years, but he made some prejudgments. So I can't wait till I get it in his hands to see that this is about changing kids' lives.
Yes.
And this is not about damaging or disparaging the hood. It's about keeping it real and saying that we got voices and choices, and we need to listen to the voice that's going to help us get to where we got to go. And that's and it's putting a little more light in the hood. You know what I mean? And letting the sun shine in the hood, and so that we can help things to grow. And
yes, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I love that. I love that illustration. Dr. Lotus Richer is also reminding everyone that Dr. Paul Miller is going to be at an in-person event called Ignite Your Life for Life Summit. And it's when men exhale. So get your ticket right now. You can go to igniteyourlifeforlife.com if you want to meet Dr. Paul Miller in person and shake this great man's hand who's changing the trajectory of our young people's lives. So
I would love to meet you. I want to see everybody in person. Hey, I want to come to your town. Hello from the Philippines. Okay, that's good stuff. I want to come to your town. I want to come and hopefully just break bread and share some words of inspiration.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, V also said, Dr. Miller, thank you for adding and highlighting this perspective as a man. this resonates as a Black woman from the hood. And me being a Black woman from the hood, I 100% can relate to everything that you're sharing here today. On this
Thank you. And a lot of times I speak to, I might speak directly to my brothers, but I'm trying to speak to everyone, or I want everybody to hear. And so, like, there's been some people that's read The Gut of the Greatness, and like a woman specifically comes to my mind, and she said, this was the first book that I think may help me save my marriage, because she said that it is helping me to understand my Black man.
Yeah.
And just understanding some of the things that he may or may have not went through. But then if people can get away from the pronouns that I'm using and look at it as this may be applying to you too, because we all have had trauma. We all have had baggage. We all have those voices, whether you're a man or woman.
Yes.
And it is, regardless of your gender, regardless of your ethnicity, you have these struggles, because this is human. And so if you can take the factors away that, I'm a Black man, a little light skin, but yeah, I'm a Black man, and you can take.
You had to put the light skin in there. You are light, you got to put that. You can't just say you're Black. You light
skin, but
I'm dark skin.
And you could take away the fact that I'm a man and just hear the what's rooted in trauma and pain, and what's rooted in experiences, and how do you mirror those experiences to also look so you don't have to repeat them or start to change your experiences.
Right.
This type of work is for everybody.
Yes, it is. And this work, you guys, you can follow Dr. Paul Miller right at Dr. P as in Paul, pmiller.com, drpmiller.com. You can also order your book, the Good Me and the Hood Me, the children's book. You can get that. You can also get From the Gutter to Greatness, all of it right at his website, drpmiller.com. Let's see. I just want to make sure. How do you feel like your book is going to differ from any other children's books that are out there? Not that you're comparing yourself to others, but really, what do you think is the difference?
Well, the difference is that it's so authentically real that it's even though it is put in a way that kids can understand. It's so authentic and it's so actual and factual, from the artwork that's in it to the imagery to the I'll say lyrics.
Yeah.
That are going to be played through the kids' heart, minds, and souls, that it has the ability to really change their lives, where a lot of work is just done because they write books. This is done because I want to change lives.
Yes. And you're gonna make me say hallelujah over here. Yeah. Like I'm listening now. Okay, you sure you don't have no preaching up inside of you, Dr. Paul Miller?
I've been told. So but I think this is my form of preaching. And
what? We all have our forms of preaching.
And never say never, but I just think that God has put this in me to help change lives and to change trajectories through education. Like right now, outside of my office, I am running a new and transitional teachers institute for 27 schools have the opportunity to participate. And we take teachers from each school and we put them in this institute and we don't charge them either. We put them in this institute to help them to educate Black and brown kids better. And we give them the skills that they may have missed in their education programs, because these colleges out here, good stuff. You got your copy?
Yes. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I was like, wait a minute. He got his copy. From Gutter to Greatness just came in. Frankie just got his copy. Also is streaming on the Man Therapy Facebook group page. So make sure.
Please, thank you. I salute Frankie. I can't wait to hear your feedback, comments, and I'm always open to dialogue and building on it. That's amazing. Thank you. But this institute is going on, and we're trying to give them skills, because the teacher programs don't often teach teachers how to teach Black and brown kids. Right. And they miss some of the best practices and the needs. And so this is one of the things that I'm passionate about, that we're doing, that we're giving this gift to teachers. And so this is about really trying to inform change to make sure our kids get what they need.
Yes, yes. Listen, y'all, I hope that if you are enjoying this type of program being brought into your home, we're actually now streaming on Roku. We are part of
That's all.
CTR Media Network, where we are in, I think it's like 140 or so countries. If you're interested in continuing to have the Kim Jacobs Show be in your household and around the world, please make sure you partner with us today. Any amount that you give does allow us to keep the subscriptions going. And it also allows us to bring balance to your home right in the comfort of your home. You don't have to go get in line for a studio in order to be a part of the show. You're right in the comfort of your home enjoying our programming. So make sure you take a moment to support the broadcast, whether it's through Venmo, PayPal, Patreon, Zelle, whatever way works best for you, Apple Cash. There are all different ways that you can support our broadcast. And thank you for those that already currently do. It does make a tremendous difference. All right. So if you were sitting across from a young man and you know that he's lost in the streets, I'm kind of being poetic over here, right?
Mhm.
You got me in my poetic mode.
Good, good, good. I like this.
And so he's lost and he's trying to figure out, how can I make it? What would you say to him, especially with you being the author that you are and your personal experiences that you've had, to encourage him?
The first thing I would tell him is to stop, take some time and go within, and ask God the question, and ask God the question, what does God want from me? And what does God want from me? And then what I would ask him to do is work towards quieting the noise and hear the answer.
Good.
And so hear the answer and let that answer speak to his soul. And then once he feels or hears, or however God speaks to him, or whatever God shows him that answer is, because if you ask, he'll answer. That's right. And sometimes you got to ask a few times, and you keep asking until you're quiet enough to hear the answer, but you got to be open to the answer, because sometimes it's not always what we want to hear. So I would tell that person to deeply listen and hear, and then put a plan in place to follow. And even though, so changing your mindset is difficult. There's steps and processes that you can follow to get there, where I believe like it's about welcoming all obstacles, welcoming all challenges, right?
Right.
And so you're welcoming it, and then you anticipate that there's going to be obstacles. Then you let them know that their greatness would come from their effort. So it's not about his ability, it's going to be his effort. And then you anticipate that there's going to be criticism, and you accept it, and you accept that criticism, and you take it to grow, and then you let others inspire you. And those are the steps that changes your mindset and working through it. Hey, that's also from We Need to Do Better 2.0, y'all. So
right.
But that's what I would give him, those kind of that formula to follow to change his mindset. But it would start with going and asking God what he wants, and then following it.
That's really inspiring. Listen, I hope that you all will share this with every family you know around the world, because every household needs to be able to have a copy of this and understand some of the different dynamics to help children make better choices, is what I'm walking away with today. So thank you again for letting God use you in this capacity.
Thank you.
You're also a podcast host, so you have the Gutter to Greatness.
From the Gutter to Greatness, yeah.
From the Gutter to Greatness podcast. How can people tune in?
From the guttertogreatness.com, or iTunes, Spotify, you name it, all the podcast sites. So yeah, from the guttertogreatness.com, you can check it out there too. So we're always up and running.
Yeah, make sure you stay connected with Dr. Paul Miller. If you go to drpmiller.com, you're going to find everything there is to know about him, his podcast, his books, his conferences, places he's speaking around the world. You're going to be able to stay connected with this powerhouse. So make sure that you stay connected right away. And if you have any closing thoughts, what would it be to just share with everyone that's tuning in today?
It starts one day at a time, but it needs to start today. You stop making excuses for yourself and for others, and turn your excuses into your reasons, and just, start doing the work. You got to be the change you want to see.
That's right. And that's so easy. Everybody says you have to be the change that you want to see, but Dr. Paul Miller really is living. He's practicing what he's preaching. He's saying, this has been my story, my journey, and here's how I'm going to make someone else's life better as I pass the baton to other people to follow. So I thank you for letting your light shine today, Dr. Paul Miller, for being here on the Kim Jacobs Show. Thank you all for being such active audience participants. Dr. Lotus Richer, thank you. Make sure you tune into Dr. Lotus Richer Ignites You show. And everyone, I love each and every one of you. So thank you so much for being a part of the studio audience today. Any closing thought? Any other thought?
No, just that I want to thank you, Kim, for having me on, and thank you for the type of show that you're doing. And I just hope that people continue to support you and support the message and the brand that you're putting out there to help bring, again, your brand of change here, and bringing people on who are really trying to bring balance to the world and create the change. And that just should be acknowledged and also celebrated. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And if any of you all are interested in starting your own show from scratch, a lot of times people are interested in having their own podcast, their own talk show, virtual show, right from the comfort of your home. I am doing a training where I teach people, 5 students at a time, on a 6-week journey, how to create your own show from scratch. So you can reach out to me, 704-962-7161, or email kimjacobsshow@gmail.com to learn more. And we do take only 5 students, and I'll be happy to work with you on your venture. All right. All right. God bless you all, everybody. Stay backstage, Dr. Paul, and you all have a fantastic rest of your day. Love you all. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Kim Jacobs Show, and for being in the virtual studio audience. Your presence truly does make a difference, and I look forward to you bringing your friends and family to join you in the virtual studio audience Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I look forward to seeing you, and make it a great day.